As Ethereum's price pumps, everyone is wondering where that capital will rotate to next. And the answer could be Ethereum's own Layer 2 ecosystem. And most Layer 2 tokens are still significantly down from their all-time highs, and this means they have even more upside potential.
Even more?
And that's why today we're going to tell you everything you need to know about Ethereum's largest Layer 2s, including how to access them, where to find projects within their ecosystem, and how high their native tokens could go. My name is Nick, and this is a vid you don't want to miss. Before we begin, you need to know that I am not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video should be considered as financial or investment advice. This video is purely for your education and entertainment, intended to inform you about 5 of Ethereum's leading Layer 2s. Also, do note that some team members at Coin Bureau do hold some of the tokens we will be covering today, but we promise to be as objective as always in our analysis. So, if you're ready to get into it, fire up those like buttons, don't forget to subscribe, and ping that notification bell as well, and let's begin. First, let's start with what Layer 2s actually are and how they work. As most of you will no doubt know, Ethereum's biggest weakness is that it's slow and expensive. Now, to remedy this, separate blockchains called Layer 2s or L2s are built as second layers on top of Ethereum, which is the Layer 1. These L2s inherit Ethereum's security while making the network faster and cheaper to use. The reason why L2s are necessary is because Ethereum was designed to be secure and decentralized. The trade-off, though, is that scalability takes a bit of a hit. Achieving all 3 of these features, security, decentralization, and scalability, is a theoretically impossible challenge, often referred to as the, quote, blockchain trilemma, a term actually coined by Ethereum's creator Vitalik Buterin himself. L2 rollup solutions aim to address the scalability aspect of Ethereum's trilemma. Rollup solutions will literally roll up transactions into a bundle, process them off-chain, and then send that data back to Ethereum as a single transaction. And this allows for faster Ethereum transactions at a fraction of the cost. Now, you should know that there are several types of rollup solutions, each with their own pros and cons. The most used variants are optimistic rollups and zero-knowledge rollups. Optimistic rollups are optimistic because they assume off-chain transactions are legit unless proven otherwise. Validators get a 1-week challenge period to check the data and then can submit fraud proofs if they spot anything dodgy. Conversely, zero-knowledge rollups, or ZK rollups, focus on privacy by using complex cryptography to verify transactions without exposing sensitive information. Unlike optimistic rollups, they don't assume validity. Instead, they submit validity proofs to smart contracts to prove transactions are legit. ZK rollups are usually faster than optimistic rollups since there's no 1-week challenge period, which has helped their adoption. The trade-off is that generating ZK proofs takes a ton of computing power, creating other hurdles that are frankly outside the scope of this video. Now, before we go any further, if you're looking to trade any cryptos mentioned in today's video, or any others for that matter, then you need to check out the Coin Bureau deals page. That's where you will find sign-up bonuses of up to $100,000 on the best exchanges, as well as 50% trading fee discounts and 75% cashback on deposits. These deals are only available to Coin Bureau viewers and will not be around for long. So, take advantage of them ASAP using the link down below or this QR code. Back to the vid. Okay, now that you understand what L2s are, let's take a look at one of the largest ones by total value locked, or TVL. In first place is Arbitrum, an optimistic rollup created by Off-Chain Labs in 2019. Its mainnet went live in September 2021, and the Arb governance token was launched in March 2023. Arbitrum is essentially an ecosystem of scaling solutions that let developers build dApps and roll-up chains. It has four main components, starting with Arbitrum 1, its flagship optimistic rollup. Arbitrum 1 supports Ethereum smart contracts and works with all of Ethereum's developer tools. The second component is Arbitrum Nitro, which is a tech stack for developers to use to build orbit chains, which are technically layer 3s, but let's not go there. The third component is Arbitrum Stylus, which allows developers to build EVM-compatible smart contracts using coding languages like Rust, C, and C++, rather than just Solidity, which is of course the coding language used for Ethereum's smart contracts. And the fourth is Arbitrum Nova, which is itself an orbit chain. Arbitrum Nova is faster and cheaper than Arbitrum 1, making it better for things like blockchain gaming and social media, albeit with some centralization trade-offs. And these features have made Arbitrum the top Ethereum Layer 2 by TVL, and it seems to be also emerging as a top Layer 2 for GameFi. And that's because building blockchain games is much easier since devs can code without learning Solidity thanks to Arbitrum Stylus. And this lets devs build immersive games with cool features with play to earn, with instant payouts and ownable NFTs that work across different games. And most importantly, Arbitrum Nova's high throughput and low costs keep those games running smoothly. Accessing Arbitrum chains, including Nova, is pretty easy. Just go to arbitrum.io and click Bridge and Explore. There you'll see two buttons, Bridge and Portal. Bridge brings you to an interface that lets you transfer funds to Arbitrum. And you'll also need to add the Arbitrum network to a wallet like MetaMask, but the bridge does this automatically, so no manual setup is required. Clicking Portal takes you to the dashboard where Arbitrum says there are over 1,000 apps built on its network. And what's great is that you can sort these by categories like DeFi, AI, DePIN, gaming, NFTs, and many more. Exploring these projects is a great way to find promising tokens with serious upside potential. But what about Arbitrum's own ARB token? Well, even with the most recent altcoin rally, ARB is still about 80% below its all-time high of $2.40, at least at the time of shooting. As such, returning to that level roughly translates to a 5x gain from today's prices. However, we believe that ARB could be significantly undervalued. As more investors move further down the risk curve, many will be drawn to Arbitrum since it's currently Ethereum's largest layer 2. As such, we reckon a conservative estimate for ARB would be somewhere around $4, roughly 8 times up from today's prices. Okay, the second largest L2 by TVL is Base, another optimistic roll-up chain. Base was launched by the Coinbase exchange in August 2023. Unlike other L2s in today's video, though, Base doesn't have its own native token, and we'll come back to that in a bit. Since launch, Base has become one of the most popular Ethereum blockchains, and that's because it's more efficient than many other L2s, even outperforming Arbitrum 1 by some metrics. But obviously, what's really driven adoption is its integration with Coinbase. Now, it's important to note that Coinbase recently began transitioning its wallet app into its Base app, which is still in development, but should be available in most countries. And if you already have the wallet, then don't worry, it still works as usual. But as the Base app, it's becoming an all-in-one platform for trading, posting, chatting with friends, and even sending money globally for free. Since the Base L2 is such a major player in the Ethereum ecosystem, it supports hundreds, if not thousands, of projects. So, how do you spot the ones with potential? Well, one way is to head on over to CoinMarketCap, then click on the categories and sort the list alphabetically, and scroll down to Base Ecosystem. From there, you can filter these options by different narratives, and if you watched our recent video on how to find 100x altcoins before they pump, you'll know that some of the hottest narratives on Base include meme coins, tokenized RWAs, and AI agents, among others. And you can learn more about how to find these 100x altcoins before they pump by watching our video on that right over here. Now, as we mentioned earlier, there is currently no native Base token, and what's more is that Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong and Base founder Jesse Pollock have repeatedly insisted that there isn't going to be one. The most recent example of this was in April this year, after someone tokenized a Coinbase tweet, and, well, let's just say it didn't perform so well. Soon after, Coinbase responded by stating that this wasn't an official token, and there are no plans to create one either. We were previously more skeptical and thought that a native token might still be on the cards. But now we think if it were going to happen, it probably would already have happened. Launching a major token mid-bull market isn't really the best strategy, since prices would almost definitely crash soon afterwards. For what it's worth though, Coinbase stock seems to have been benefiting from Base the L2 itself. Okay, the third largest layer 2 by TVL is the OP mainnet, also known as Optimism. As the former name would suggest, the OP mainnet uses optimistic rollup technology. Optimism began as the Plasma Group back in January 2019 before rebranding a year later. Optimism's mainnet launched in December 2021. And what makes OP mainnet unique is its superchain, which aims to unite the fragmented L2 space into one big interoperable ecosystem. And you can easily track its chains and projects at superchain.eco. We'll drop a link in the description for you to come back and check it later. You can access OP mainnet through a compatible Web3 wallet like MetaMask, Coinbase Wallet, or Trust Wallet by first adding the Optimism network. If you're using MetaMask, the OP mainnet will already be available for you to add within the app. If this isn't an option for you though, you'll need to add the network yourself. An easy way to do this is by visiting chainlist.org, which we'll also leave a link to for you guys in the description. Simply search for OP mainnet, connect your wallet, and the chain will be added automatically. Then to bridge funds, OP mainnet suggests two options, brid.gg and Superbridge. Both will do the same thing, but we like the Superbridge's super simplistic UI, so we've gone for that right now. Simply connect your wallet, enter the amount of ETH you want to bridge to OP mainnet, and then you'll see the range of options. Using the native bridge has no extra fees, but takes about 3 minutes, which isn't too bad. Alternatively, you can select much faster options that charge a small fee, like the Across protocol. When we tried, these options cut the wait time to 8 seconds for just a fraction of a cent. Once that's set up, you'll probably want to start looking for up-and-coming projects within OP mainnet's ecosystem. To do this, head to the superchain.eco website that we mentioned a moment ago. The Chains and Projects button will help reveal some potential candidates. The Chains tab lists quite a few blockchains, but Projects offers a much wider variety. And what's great is that the Projects tab has an inbuilt filter, so you can select specific categories, aka different niches. For example, selecting SocialFi narrows the list to 21 different projects, at least at the time of shooting. But what about OP mainnet's own native OP token? Well, at the time of shooting, OP is still down 85% from its previous all-time high of $4.85. And this means that rallying back to this level would translate to a more than 6x gain from today's prices. Now, we reckon that OP could actually rally much further than this, and a conservative estimate would be around $8.50, so about 10x from here. Now, the fourth largest Ethereum Layer 2 by TVL is Unichain, a relative newcomer from Uniswap Labs, which launched Uniswap, the leading Ethereum DEX, way back in 2018. Uniswap's native Uni token was launched in September 2020, but Unichain's mainnet only went live this February. If you check out Unichain's website, you'll see it describes itself as, quote, the home for DeFi. From the site, you can also access Unichain by clicking the Bridge to Unichain button. This will open up the Uniswap DEX with Unichain ETH already pre-selected as the asset. To bridge your ETH over to Uniswap, connect any compatible Web3 wallet. We actually think Uniswap's wallet app is actually pretty good and even has a few handy features like custom usernames and keyboard shortcuts to name but a few. Once that's set up, you can easily bridge funds to Unichain by swapping your regular ETH for Unichain ETH. To discover promising projects on Unichain, head back to the website and scroll down to the Start Exploring section. You'll see that it has, quote, more than 100 apps and infrastructure building on Unichain, with a button right below labeled Explore Apps and Integrations. Go ahead and click it. You should see a long list of every project in the Unichain ecosystem. At the time of shooting, there were over 179 projects to explore. The good news is that there's a handy filter that lets you narrow your search by specific DeFi use cases. For example, if you pick lending, the list shrinks down to just 4 projects. Much easier, right? Now, what about Uni, the native token for both Unichain and Uniswap? Well, as we record this, Uni is around 75% down from its all-time high of almost $45. And this means that returning to that level would translate to a roughly 4x gain from here. Again, though, we believe that Uni can surpass this target. As Ethereum continues to gain traction, more and more investors will begin exploring DeFi and ERC20 tokens, both of which channel capital into Uniswap. And this could significantly drive Uni's price up, and we reckon a conservative estimate would be for around $80 for the Uni token, and 8x from today's prices. Now, the 5th largest Ethereum Layer 2 by TVL is ZKsync, which is the only one in today's list that doesn't use optimistic rollups as a scaling solution. Instead, as the name would suggest, it uses zero-knowledge proofs, which, as you'll recall from earlier in the video, can process transactions based on a portion of the transaction data, making transactions faster and cheaper. In any case, ZKsync was originally founded by Matter Labs in 2018. In late 2019, Matter Labs revealed its plans for ZKsync, and the first version of it launched on mainnet in June 2020. The current version, version 2.0, also known as ZKsync Era, was launched in March 2023. The platform's native ZK token was then launched in June 2024. ZKsync is a major player in the tokenized RWA niche, second only to Ethereum. At the time of shooting, Ethereum commands about 55% of the RWA market share, while ZKsync holds around 18%, excluding stablecoins. And what's crazy is that ZKsync's dominance far exceeds other competitors like Aptos, Solana, and Stellar, all of which have a market share of 4% or less. As you will have guessed already, you can access ZKsync by connecting any compatible Web3 wallet and then adding the network to your wallet. If you're using MetaMask, you should see that ZKsync is already available as a network you can add within the app. Alternatively, you can easily do this yourself by visiting the chainlist.org website. Just type in ZKsync and you should see the mainnet pop up. Connect your wallet and the ZKsync network will be added automatically. You can then bridge your funds by visiting portal.zksync.io. We should of course point out though that this bridge is currently in beta at the time of shooting, but for what it's worth, we didn't experience any issues. Connect your wallet, type in how much ETH you want to bridge to ZKsync, and then click Continue. You can find promising projects within the ZKsync ecosystem by checking out ZKsync's official website. That's because ZKsync also has a similar concept to OP Mainnet's superchain. ZKsync calls this the Elastic Network, which consists of 19 different blockchains, all powered by ZKsync technology. Of course, you can go through each of these 19 chains to find a narrative that could do well, but given ZKsync's overwhelming market share of the RWA niche, it could be a good idea to narrow the list down to projects that also support RWAs. Not financial advice, of course. In any case, there is just one final question remaining. What about ZKsync's native ZK token? Well, at the time of shooting, ZK is around 80% down from its all-time high of 32 cents. Reaching this level again would then be a gain of about roughly 5 times from today's prices. But as you'll probably know, the RWA niche is one with serious potential, so it won't be surprising to hear that we think this target is easy to beat. From our perspective, a conservative estimate would be somewhere around 50 cents or higher, which would be around 10x from today's prices. And that's our rundown of the largest Ethereum Layer 2s. Of course, Ethereum's L2 universe extends far beyond the ones we've talked about here, so let us know which other L2s are on your radar in the comments down below. Which ones are we sleeping on? And which ones should we cover in the future? And if you want to see how high ETH could go in this upcoming rally, then check out our video right over here. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, you can do that right over here. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you the next time. This is Nick, over and out.